Welcome to the Life and Times. I want to talk about some things I did in 2023 because I didn't do any updates in 2023 even though I wanted to. So here I am, making up for it with one video. I guess the first thing to address is the work stuff I did in 2023. I guess it began in February of 2023 with the debut of my series, Mysteries and Monsters. This is all stuff that's all on the Small Town Monsters YouTube channel, so you can go and watch all that. And Mysteries and Monsters ran for 9 episodes all the way up into October of last year. I'm actually very proud of it. It focuses on me as I travel around and film stuff all over. And one of the benefits of that was that I actually got to explore Southern California quite a lot and see the places around me and get a better understanding of the geography, the lay of the land here in SoCal that I didn't have before. Then I did 2 feature films. I edited the Dogman Triangle, Werewolves in the Lone Star State, I think it's called, and that was fun. And then I also did Cryptid Chupacabra. It's an interesting one. It rattled my belief in the Chupacabra, that's for sure. That brings me to the final project I did in 2023, which is a series that's still ongoing and that I'm very, very proud of, and it's called Road to Discovery. This series takes a look at the Olympic Project up in Washington State and the work that they're doing. And honestly, I wanted to change up the entire vibe of anything I had produced. You know, Mysteries and Monsters was very high energy, and Road to Discovery is anything but intense music and anything like that. It's very old school in its approach, and it's kind of reflects a lot of what I've been personally kind of going for. It takes its time. It tells the story. It gives you all the details, the information. It's laid back. It's not an advertisement, basically. And so I wanted to get away from anything that was a sort of manufactured feeling, and I wanted to focus solely on what researchers had to say, focus on what research is. And I'm really proud of that. But anyways, that's enough of that silly nonsense. That's not why you're here. You're not here for my work stuff. You guys, my fans know, all 100 of you. Keeping in line with the cryptid conversation, we brought back the podcast Cryptid Campfire, so that's back once a month, hopefully, except for January of this year. Things have kind of slipped out of my control, but overall, I mean, Cryptid Campfire's back. We ended it back in 2022, around May or June, and we brought it back in, I think, June of 2023. We took almost an entire year-long break. Yeah, I mean, the goal is to kind of just have fun with it and whatnot. It's different than when it was before, and I've been enjoying the slower pace of producing episodes of that. I guess the really big thing that I got into last year was building Lego, and I want to make that distinction. I don't play with Legos, I build with Lego. So I have taken to building Lego sets, sure, but also kind of building MOCs, which is my own creation. Built 2 kids running from a ghost in a pumpkin patch, Johnny Thunder's, I guess, library is what you would call it, and he's kind of looking back at all his artifacts. So that's been a lot of fun to get into. And right now, I'm actually working on a gigantic monster castle. I've been working on it since late October, so it's several months now. That's just it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's a much, much bigger project than I thought it was going to be. And not that I'm complaining, I like it. I like my monster castle quite a bit. But it was more than I think I realized what I was tackling at the time. Not only that, too, once you start getting into Lego as a hobby, it kind of starts taking over. I mean, Lego takes up a lot of space. soon you're investing not only in Lego, but you're also investing in storage solutions. And so lately I just invested in some IKEA drawers, which allows me to completely organize my Lego collection in a much cleaner way than I had been able to before. I was always into Lego as a kid. I worked at the Lego store at the Glendale Galleria for a little while. So Lego's always been kind of part of my life, and so I finally just kind of pulled the trigger this year and just said, I'm done pretending like I'm too old to build Lego. Because I was watching like YouTube videos on Lego and people building stuff out of Lego, and I'm like, I could do that. Like, I felt like I could build something cool out of Lego, and I'm doing it. It's taking a while, but what I like most about it though is that it gives me the chance to explore things creatively. But it's different from like sitting down and editing or sitting down and writing. Most of the time when I'm building Lego, I'm kind of standing up or I'm crouched down, depending on the angle of what I'm trying to do, and it allows me to create things out of my hands, which is a way that I don't normally do. Most of the time it's a very cerebral process, which Lego definitely is, especially when you start building MOCs. But in this case, you see it in your mind and then you use your hands to make it happen in a way that doesn't happen with filmmaking very often. So it's an entirely different process, and I've been really enjoying that a lot. Plus it's like really relaxing as well. Speaking of working with my hands, I also got really invested into like retro gaming. So I busted out my Nintendo DS, this is the original DS that came out way back when. And I was playing some games on it. I got some Game Boy Advance games and was actually playing Zelda: A Link to the Past on this thing. You know, some of the screen is actually broken because of how old it is. And I really wanted to have a much better experience playing, because, you know, obviously it's two screens, and I was like, well, if I'm only playing Game Boy Advance games and not DS games, then I only need one screen. And so I thought, well, why don't I get a Game Boy Advance? And so I did. Here it is, the Game Boy Advance. And one thing that I love about this is the form factor. It's actually really comfortable to hold, but then I realized, and I was reading more about it, this is not a backlit screen. And then I got into the whole world of Game Boy Advance modding, and I turned this into this. So this is my new Game Boy Advance, all new shell. Basically, I stripped the interior of this Game Boy Advance, put it into this one with the new shell, with the IPS backlit screen. And of course, it plays all the games just fine. I'm playing Donkey Kong Country 2. Shout out to my girlfriend for getting me that. But yeah, this has been a game changer. And there's another modification that you can get that is a rechargeable battery with USB-C. I might invest in that. Right now I'm just using some AA batteries that are actually rechargeable. So I mean, when you think about it, this is a rechargeable Game Boy Advance. I'm super stoked about this, but then I wanted to get into 3DS games because I started playing A Link to the Past and I got into Zelda, and I wanted to play Ocarina of Time because I've never played Ocarina of Time, and you can't play that on the DS. So I was like, well, how do I get a 3DS? And the answer is it's only like $400 away, and I was like, that's too expensive for me. And so I discovered that there's another solution that you can get very affordably. This is called the Nintendo 2DS. It's it looks like a doorstop, but I was reading reviews on it, and people say the form factor, just the ergonomics of holding this thing in your hand, feels great. And when I got it and I started playing it, I fell in love with it instantly. I've been loving these consoles, the Game Boy Advance and the 2DS. I actually really love those. What I've discovered about these retro games is that they're actually very difficult. So yeah, I can understand the rage quitters now. Real quick, I want to talk about some of the things that I watched. And so I finally bit the bullet. I got into Adventure Time.
Now to savor the moment. It's just you and me, baby. What the?
Adventure Time's a really, really weird show. I'm sure any fans of Adventure Time know that at this point, but it's really weird. When I watched it as a kid, it was just the most bizarre episodes, and so yeah, undoubtedly, I did not like it at all. But I gave it a chance towards the December 2022, and by March of last year, I had finished it completely, and man, what a fantastic show that is. I mean, there's some serious character growth moments, and it's a very postmodern fantasy epic, I guess you could say. There's certain storylines that really bear the hallmarks of being a fantasy epic. You know, the whole arc with Lemon Hope looks like scenes out of Heavy Metal. Finn's whole storyline, of course, as he ages and gets older, and the concept of Fern coming out of Finn, out of the grass sword. I mean, the whole evolution of that as a storyline is pretty nuts and has some very deep character implications that I think are very well explored in the show. It's kind of amazing what they've done with a kid's show, but so of course I got into Distant Lands, and then when Fiona and Cake came out, I was definitely hopping on that and watching that. And so yeah, I'm a huge Adventure Time fan now. And then that leads me into Steven Universe, because I watched Steven Universe after Adventure Time, and Steven Universe, I know it's more divisive than Adventure Time, but man, what a fantastic show. Steven Universe, you got some good music, you got some really good character writing. The vibe is really, really nice in that show. It's very cozy, very nice. I was very much attracted to what Rebecca Sugar said that they were going for, which was an East Coast beach town, which I can totally picture, having been to the East Coast and been to some beach towns, having friends who live in similar environments. I was like, yeah, I can see that. And I think that's unique because you always see a beach town like set here in Southern California. You never see Northeast beach town. Last year was definitely the year for animation. Yeah, I'm really glad I went down those rabbit holes. And then on top of that, I started to read a lot more. Reading is something that I've wanted to get back into for a long time. Started reading the High Republic series, which from Star Wars. That's actually really good. I really like the High Republic. I finished Phase 1 just last month, and I'll be reading Phase 2 and 3 pretty soon here. I'm kind of reading the Thrawn trilogy, the new canon Thrawn trilogy, as opposed to the original Thrawn trilogy. There's 3 Thrawn trilogies, 2 of which are canon, one of which is not. Anyways, it's complicated, but I'm going to read all of them probably because I like Thrawn a lot. Yeah, anyways, High Republic, if you guys are interested in reading any Star Wars at all, I recommend the High Republic because I think they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're not my favorite Star Wars books, but they're definitely up there in terms of, actually, they might be some of my favorite Star Wars books. They got some good characters in there, and things get pretty messed up pretty quick. Then I started going down this kind of Tolkien rabbit hole, and I started collecting these really nice editions of all these Middle-earth books from HarperCollins. So I read an illustrated version of The Hobbit for the first time I think I read The Hobbit, the last time I read The Hobbit was 2012 when the first Hobbit movie came out. So it's been 12 years since I read it. And man, what a good book. I didn't think I was gonna be into it, but I really got into The Hobbit. It's a lot of fun, and Bilbo is such a relatable character, and I might talk about it more in a different video because I have some thoughts on Bilbo. And you know, when looking at the hero's journey, in terms of the modern day myths, you look at Bilbo Baggins and you look at Luke Skywalker. And they're both very, very different characters, but I think Bilbo Baggins is so much more relatable than Luke. And that's because Luke is somewhat of an everyman, but Bilbo is a very, very well-defined character, and he is unique and relatable in his specificity. And I think that's what's lacking from Luke Skywalker. But I'll do a whole video on that, I think. And that kind of brings me to everything coming back into 2024 and some of the things. I started implementing these changes in my life in 2023 where I want to live more intentionally, I guess. I kind of talked about it at the top of the video, but I'm kind of sick of how cheap everything feels, this endless consumerism that things are made to be disposable, and I really don't like that. You know, like one of the things I love about Lego is that if you decide one day that you don't like something, you can just take it apart and build something else with it. I've had lots and lots of fun taking apart a Game Boy Advance and putting it back together again so I can play games on it, and then taking time to appreciate the old games. And it has no internet connectivity at all. So when you pop in the game, that's what you're doing. You're playing the one game, and I really, really like that. It's a single-use device. I don't know. There's something to that, to where it's not the most convenient thing. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's more worthwhile as a result. That's why in an upcoming video, I'm probably going to talk about this thing. But until then, I guess this is it for now. And I will see you a lot sooner than 2025. So you guys take it easy.